Blog Talk Radio.
When you're born in this world, you're given a ticket to the freak show.
It's reminiscent of those pictures we've all seen too much on television before, when a building was deliberately destroyed by well-placed dynamite to knock it down.
And when you're born in America, you're given a front row seat.
So part of it is we have to break through our kind of private idea that kids belong to their parents.
Forget the politicians. The politicians are put there to give you the idea that you have freedom of choice. You don't.
There is no America. There is no democracy.
You have no choice. You have owners. They own you.
There is only IBM and ITT and AT&T and DuPont, Dow, Union Carbide, and Exxon. Those are the nations of the world today.
It's a big club, and you ain't in it.
Do you know how naive you sound?
Why?
Senators and presidents don't have men killed.
Oh. Who's being naive, Kay?
They got you by the ball.
Yeah, all right. Hello. Hello and welcome. Welcome once again to the front row at the Freak Show. I am your host, Crafty, coming to you live from Region 1 here in Famerica. Just made that up. Of course, F you to all you good freaks out there listening tonight. And perhaps you're just tuning in for the first time, so no, I did not just tell you to go fuck yourselves. No. F you, of course, is Freaks Unite. And unite we must, because as I always say, it's no fun getting screwed by yourself, right? No. If we're gonna get screwed, well, we might as well all be together. Our own little freak orgy or something. But hey, joining me momentarily will be none other than the Adamizer. But just before we do bring him in here, let me remind you all that the front row at the Freak Show is still brought to you by absolutely no one. And I actually just reminded myself of that classic Chevy Chase line from Saturday Night Live. Remember that one? Generalissimo Francisco is still dead. But the Adamizer and I are still, in fact, free agents. And all you capitalist pigs out there, you should know that, so you can pump a bunch of your inflated fiat paper money our way so we can go on and continue ripping your very existence. How's that for a sales pitch, huh? Yeah. All right. Well, let's just get the man out here. Adamizer, I see that your mic is on, and that must mean that you are indeed nestled up here in the front row. And I do want to ask how you're doing, but before I do, I just want to let you know. And yeah, maybe you sensed a little bit with my open. But, just so you and all the freaks out there know that Crafty's a little salty tonight. Yeah, a little bitter. Got a little edge. I don't know, frustrated. So, I just want to let you know what you're dealing with tonight. But how are you doing, Adamizer?
I'm actually pretty good, man. I guess you'll have to take the angry role tonight. I was dealing with some online where I actually didn't bother to look at somebody's response because I knew it would amp me up, and I knew I'd be on the wrong side of the bed for the podcast. So I figured I'd let that slide, and I'll deal with that tomorrow. So I'm in good spirits. I'm doing good.
Oh, that's good. That's good, and that's funny that you mentioned that because that's a big reason why I have my edge on me, and I, obviously didn't know exactly which way we're, going to open here, but, and I wasn't even sure if I was going to bring this up. Well, let me say this, first of all. Adamizer and I have come to the conclusion or the agreement that what we're going to do here, kind of going forward in our ever tweaking and fine tuning of the show, that basically what we're going to do is we're going to get our schmeal out and the scuttlebutt out, and then really focus on phone calls for the second hour plus, what have you. But with that said, and the reason I'm a little bit edgy, and with you coincidentally talking about a post that you chose not to respond to, on Friday I started in, there was some comments made on the front row at the freakshow.com, and it was under the Economy Oh My episode. And this guy's actually a good friend of mine, or at least was.
Oh no! Did I do it now?
No. I love him like a brother. I still do, right?
Yeah.
And I guess I could spend the next hour talking about the absolute insanity of his comments. Up to and including the last one, I kind of ended it, and I was like, look, I can't keep going down this road with you. And but what I did was, and for anyone who's listening, I hope he's listening now. For the purposes of the show, we'll call him Hooper. That's his nickname. But I do hope he's listening now. And but I did end up challenging him to, in fact, call into the show. So for Hooper only, just because I don't want to hear later on, I couldn't call in during the first hour and that's all I could do. Mr. Hooper has, a direct line, a bat line into the front row right now. So for Mr. Hooper, anyway, 646-668-8756. And if we see Mr. Hooper call in, we'll jump right to him, of course. But for the rest of you freaks out there, if you can, I'll give the number out later, 5-10 minutes or so before we're about to really get into the phone calls. After we kind of get through the scuttlebutt and all that, we are, you probably noticed the title of the show, What's Up, Doc? We're going to start getting into some documentaries that Adamizer and I feel are worth the watch. And we'll take it from there, and obviously want any and all freaks chiming in, calling in, being in the chat room. And with that said, the front row at the Freak Show live chat question of the night, which I'm hoping the Adamizer will pump into the chat room right now, but it's if you had to pick one documentary that would be required viewing for, say, all freshmen in high school, what would it be? And, of course, if you want to break the rules and just give us your favorite or what you think is the most effective, that's fine too. But I kind of liked the qualifier of, making it required viewing for freshmen. So that is tonight's front row at the Freak Show live chat question of the night. And see, the chat room is just starting to get going. So anyway, Adamizer.
Yes.
What is going on with you, my friend?
Oh, little of this, little of that. Having all kinds of fun, pissing people off as I do, whether they're the religious folks or the capitalist folks or the pro-American folks or, it's pretty much what I do all week. I piss people off. I don't try. I mean, it's not like I'm, it's not like my goal is to get people's anger levels up. It's just a matter of speaking the truth and speaking the truth as I see it. And I find that those people who get the most angry tend to be the ones who have read the least on the subjects at hand.
It is fascinating, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But
go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, you go.
Oh, all right. But picking up, just a little bit of, we're doing leftovers at this point from last week or last show?
We'll hit on our leftovers, or Yeah.
Just wanted to touch on a little bit that you and I were discussing afterwards, and kind of share some of the things I said to you with the listening audience out there. We talked last week about the benefits of communism and, of course, the pitfalls of capitalism. And one of the things that I had mentioned, we talked about the use of the word communist and how, so many people just, their ears shut the moment you try to use that word in any type of positive sense. And I had made the case that I feel like, part of waking up, if we're going to call it waking up, part of coming to grips with reality is being able to dispel myths, especially when it comes to our vocabulary. We're all brought up to think, the word atheist is evil, the word communist is evil, all of this stuff, and I think it's important that we discover that. Now, I know you had made a valid point of, do you really want to fight that battle? But it's kind of just a matter of me sharing what I went through. That I choose that word as opposed to resource-based economy, or as opposed to sharing economy, or collectivist, or all kinds of other things I could substitute. Because first of all, I think it's honest. I think it's I would feel dishonest if I was trying to mask it with some other word. But I think that, facing down these demons, these demonized words, is a big part of what needs to be done. I think that, it was very hard for me, as I mentioned before, as a former preacher, to adopt the word atheist as something that describes me. And as is probably true of just about any American, before you get there, it was very hard to adopt the word communist, probably even harder, because, I can say atheist in a bar and not expect to have 5 people come up and give me lip for it. If I say I'm a communist in the average bar, then I'm going to get all kinds of people trying to beat me to death with their flag. And it really, but I would rather fight the fight. I would rather, stay true to what I believe is important, and say the word that for what it means, and try to educate people to understand that, like I was talking about last week, this isn't anything about Soviets or dictatorship or anything like that. I simply believe that workers deserve to keep the products of their labor. That's what it's all about. And I just wanted to say that if you're going to be against communism, there's going to be one of 2 reasons for that. Number one, and the most common reason, is you have no idea what communism actually means, and that's true of most Americans. Okay, but fix that. That's easily fixable. Go read what communists have to say about it. Don't just let capitalists define it for you. But the only other reason that you could honestly be against it is being against the rights of workers. I mean, that's what it boils down to. If you honestly feel that the contribution to society by the owner class, by the bosses, by the Koch brothers, by the Bushes, etc., is so valuable that they should live as kings among men, not having to labor a day in their lives while the rest of us toil away at our machines or whatever it is we're doing, that's your choice, and you're welcome to do that. But if that's not you, and you still think you're against communism, I would wager that you really don't understand what that word means, and you really need to go work on that. And there's plenty of books out there to read. Das Kapital might be a little long and dry for most folks, but there's all sorts of cliff-noted versions out there. Just listen to communists tell you what communism is all about. Don't let capitalists define it for you, because absolutely communism is the enemy of capitalism, and capitalists know that. Last thing in the world top capitalists want to see, and they pump a lot of money into this, is worker equality. So look into that. See what you come up with.
Yeah, and again, Adamizer, I will only retort with kind of what I've been retorting with, and that, look, I completely agree with you in terms of even trying to call a spade, what have you, and not bowing to political correctness or whatnot. But again, and there's very few of these I actually think that truly exist out there. But there's a handful of words, right, that have just been so over the top demonized, or right, you got the N word, when it comes to women, you got the C word, you got in terms of what we're talking about, the other C word, communism, and it's just even as I've been listening more to Dr. Wolf there, who you turned me on to, and I've been definitely checking him out more and more. He very rarely incorporates that into his lectures, right?
Absolutely, you're right.
And actually bringing that out, and I think that's on purpose. So again, and then just tying that back into the fact that it is an idea and it's a thought, and then when it comes to, say, a resource-based economy, it's kind of picking up that ball, taking it other places, and injecting actual viable solutions according to the world that we're living in today. So,
in a sense, and I agree with you.
It's those things that I say, I'd rather be fighting the battle of getting people to see the death spiral that capitalism is in, and the possible solutions that, say, the Zeitgeist movement or whatnot have come up with since.
Yeah, and I again, of course, I agree with that in the sense that I'm impressed by what the Zeitgeist movement has done. However, I think that it's a very specific example of how to do communism if you look at the resource-based economy. Now,
sure.
I think before you can get into those kinds of specifics, you need to understand the economic philosophies that it's based on. And I think that's kind of a stepping stone towards it, because it may be that their plan does not work. It may be that the dependence on technology or any number of other things put big giant holes in that, and you have to rethink that. But if that's the case, as long as you stick to the core principles of not having any type of classism where there's some class of non-workers versus, of a minority of non-workers extracting surplus labor or the fruits of surplus labor from the rest of us, and, if you don't have money and you don't have the things that, again, are either not required or not conducive to communism, then I think you can take that principle and build upon it in any direction that you want to build upon, whether it's building the resource-based economy or building something completely different, and still end up with something that is eventually going to work. You may go through a lot of trial and error, but I think eventually there's a pathway that will make it work. And Native Americans did it for tens of thousands of years, right where we're sitting.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this idea that communism only works in theory is basically bullshit. And if anything, capitalism doesn't even work in theory. So we certainly need to find a different set of core economic principles to build on, regardless of what we build, whether it's resource-based economy or something else.
I agree. I agree, Adamizer, with that statement. Absolutely. Hey, let's just take a quick time out here. Come back. I got just something I want to add to what you just said there, okay? And then we'll get on with Scuttlebutt. But let's take a quick break, and we'll come right back after this. Conspiracy?
Yeah, I mean, the fact is you've got these psychopaths, whether they're running the top businesses or whether they're running the country or both, that, they want more and more and more. That's all they can think about, and they'll step on anybody and send your kids off to die to get it. And that's the world we live in.
My mother was actually a black Irish Italian Muslim, lesbian hooker with a lisp.
Maybe.
What is so interesting about us in the first place?
This fucking soulless horse.
My question is to the Adamizer.
I'm glad you asked, Adamizer.
Then you really need to re-examine your objectivity on the subject, because you don't have any.
Screwed?
My ass is open. Wait, let me rephrase that.
Read that book, cover to cover. Read that fucking book.
I'm not sitting here suggesting we burn them all and completely rid the planet of them.
And if the God described in the Bible is real and is what is described in that Bible, he's not your fucking friend. He's a monster, and we should all get together and hunt him down and kill him.
Definitely. To me, at the very least, it's the root of all tyranny. Get your freak on. Front Row at the Freak Show on blogtalkradio.com/Front Row. All right, and we're back. And Adamizer, I can't obviously we've been bantering on this now for a couple of weeks, and I'm not sure if I've exactly hit this point or not, but so excuse me if it might be a repeat. But tying what you're saying about obviously the education of the idea, the word, what have you, right? I have been, for a long time now, just simply amazed at the fact that when you talk about our education system, right, money, the use of money, managing money, holding on to money, planning money, right, outside of personal relationships and all that other, gooey stuff. Obviously, money is the single biggest factor in our lives.
Yep.
And outside of learning how to count it when you're in first and second grade and kindergarten, there is not a minute spent in the public education system that I can see or that I remember talking about money, right? There's no classes. I mean, you have to get to college before economics, and maybe there's some public schools there that has some basic economic classes in high school, but I mean, it's almost something that should be every single year a major part of that year and learning about it. And I think if it was, and certainly if you introduced, like I've introduced it to my son, who's 8 years old, going to be 9 in a few months, but, I've told them the short version of how money is created, out of thin air, and we can just print and yada, yada, yada. And he gets that it's whacked, right? Like, what do you mean they just print it? So I think if there was a truly dedicated, class structure on it throughout the 12 years of public education, I think inside of 2 generations, it would be fixed. I mean, that's all it would take.
I think it's obvious why that doesn't happen. I mean, the people who set up the public school curriculums are directed by politicians who depend on campaign donations, which means they're not going to do that. But I would just say this, that while I absolutely agree with you that it would be great to objectively teach economics, at least low-level economics and the principles of money in grade school. At the same time, I think if you were to ask me what's the number one thing that they don't teach in the schools that they need to, I think it has to do with self-sufficiency. I think the fact that we're not teaching kids how to plant seeds, we're not teaching kids how to hunt, how to gather water, how to do the things that are required to not depend on the system. It amazes me that we feel we've somehow evolved to a point where it's not necessary to teach a kid, about soil and about planting seeds and things like that. It feels to me like, we talk about it all the time. Pretty soon, those are going to be the only skills that are important in your day-to-day life. It's a lot more so than trying to, fix a computer or make a buck.
Right. No, and along those same lines, I was 15, 16 years ago, I was a substitute teacher for a couple of years, and like a full-time substitute, thinking about going into teaching and what have you. But the couple of years of substituting quickly changed my tune on that. But look, a bigger art and music fan you cannot find, right?
Right.
I love the arts. I love music. But as far as giving kids 45 minutes on a broken xylophone a week and, having them make clay ashtrays or something, for another 45 minutes a week, there's this, massive, we got to keep arts and music in the schools, and it's, look, again, I'm such a fan of them, but you know what? That stuff has to be at the home, right? Those things got to be up to the parents. And let's face it, kids that are really musically inclined and artistic and whatnot are usually getting the private instruction at home and after school, right? They're not honing those skills in that 45 minutes with 40 other kids, in some, decrepit classroom with again, the waste I saw, the music room was just a closet filled of broken violins and saxophones and, nothing taken care of. And, this is just one school in one town, and you multiply that out. What you're talking about, millions a year across the country. And again, things talking about money, local politics, right? No one, obviously they teach you the generals of, the Senate and the president and all that, but what about local politics, right? How to change things in your town. That's never discussed. And then, like you said, the self-sustaining type environment. All things that, again, I think if that were to happen, just those things, inside of 2 generations, things would be so turned around because, kids get it. They really do. Yep. And interesting stuff.
I agree. Let me just throw one quick thing on there to say that you're describing the reasons why I homeschool my kids, and a big part of the curriculum is in fact local politics. I take them to the select board meetings and the budget committee meetings and the town deliberative sessions and all this stuff so that they can experience what it's like to actually have an influence on the way that a community runs.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and it's obviously hats off to you. I wish I was in the position to be able to do that. And But yeah, I mean, you grow up and then you see the signs and front yards and everything, constable and alderman, and you're like, who the hell are these people, right?
Right.
And because you never taught, thing one about how to even, how to get a stop sign put in somewhere that you think, or whatever, just again, local, town, community politics. And,
I mean, my kids my kids are on a first name basis with all of the local politicians, virtually every elected official, and they know exactly what it means to put a petition warrant article down to get a stop sign or to get a no parking zone or whatever else.
Jeez, what time's that class, Adamizer? I might have to sign up for that one.
We don't see, one of the things I do not do when it comes to homeschooling is time, class time type of thing. I think learning is something that happens every waking moment if you're doing it right.
Of course.
So I don't restrict things to a class schedule type of thing at all. And if there's a town meeting or something like that, then we just go, and that's it happens when it happens.
Nice. That's great, man. That's great. All right, let's take our first real break here. And tonight, we were talking, I think, with Brian last week. We were talking about comedians, and I brought up Bill Hicks, so I said I have to get some Bill Hicks on, and so that's what I did. So I got a little Bill Hicks tonight, and this is from his final performance ever, and the sound quality isn't great, and I also chopped it up a little, tried to make the best, not the best 6 minutes, but kind of a cohesive thing, especially considering the sound quality in some areas. But it is again Bill Hicks's final performance. Got about 6 minutes, so. Bill Hicks.
Now, the reason I'm quitting is actually good news. I found out today I got my own TV show on CBS coming out in '94. Yeah. It's not a talk show. Thank God, thank Krishna, thank Buddha, thank Muhammad, thank Allah. Calm down. It's not a talk show. It is a half-hour weekly show that I will host entitled Let's Hunt and Kill Billy Ray Cyrus. Thanks. So y'all will tune in? Cool. Fairly self-explanatory. Each week we let the hounds of hell loose and we chase that jarhead, no talent, cracker asshole all over the globe till I finally catch that fruity little ponytail of his, pull him to his knees, put a gun in his mouth, and we'll be back in '95 with Let's Hunt and Kill Michael Bolton. So, thanks a lot. Thank you. You see, the run is fairly limitless with this idea. We're not going to run out of storylines anytime too fucking soon here. And we're kicking it all off with our Marky Mark, Vanilla Ice, MC Hammer Christmas Spectacular. All I'm trying to do, folks, is rid the world of all these fevered egos that are tainting our collective unconscious and making us pay a higher psychic price than we can fucking imagine. That, in fact, is how I exactly pitched it to the network. Seriously, I went in and I said, I want to do a show where we rid the world of all these fevered egos that are tainting our collective unconscious. And the CBS guy goes, will there be pity? And I said, yeah, all right, sure. Boom, a check falls in my lap. I'm a producer. We've had creative meetings. What are these titties going to do? I'll jiggle? Son, you're a genius. Where have you been all our lives? Oh, at the Comedy Pouch in Possum Ridge, Arkansas, you fuck. But it's interesting. I found this out. I think it's so weird that the Australians were originally the criminal class of Great Britain, and the Brits, in order to punish them, sent them to Australia, their own prehistoric Eden-like island continent. Bummer. Boy, you don't want to get on the wrong side of them Brits. They'll fuck you good. What the fuck? What do you want about the crime rate really soared in Great Britain when people figured out where they were going to be sent to? Let me get this straight. You keep the shitty food and the shitty weather, and we get the Great Barrier Reef and lobsters the size of canoes. I'm Jack the Ripper. No, I'm Jack the Ripper. I'm Jack the Ripper. We're all Jack the Ripper. Where's the fucking boat? That's me going over the horizon. It is down under. That's true too. But I was over in Australia during Easter, which was real interesting to note. They celebrate Easter the exact same way we do, commemorating the death and resurrection of Jesus by telling our children a giant bunny rabbit left chocolate eggs in the night. Now, I wonder why we're fucked up as a race. Anybody got any? You know, I've read the Bible. I can't find the word bunny or chocolate anywhere in the fucking book. Where do you come up with this shit? Why not goldfish left Lincoln Logs in your sock drawer? You know, as long as you're making shit up, go hog wild. At least a goldfish with a Lincoln Log on its back going across your carpet has some miraculous connotation. Mommy, today I woke up and found the Lincoln Log in my sock drawer. That's the story of Jesus. Speaking of Satan, I was watching Rush Limbaugh the other day. It's a very scary world we're living in, folks. Doesn't Rush Limbaugh remind you of one of those gay guys that likes to lay in a tub while other guys pee on him? Don't you see that? You know what I mean? Get your picture his flabby little corpulent body in a tub and Reagan, Bush, and Quayle around the edge. Just his little piggly wiggly dick can't get hard. I can't get hard. Piss in my mouth, Ronnie. But anyway, I'm listening to talk radio shows these days, and everyone, you know what Rush said about NAFTA? You know Rush is talking about NAFTA? I heard Rush the other day say about NAFTA. What are y'all looking for, a new dad? Grow the fuck up. Take responsibility for your fucking lives. What do you think about NAFTA, man? I'll tell you what I think. The cocksucking elite who own and run everything in this fucking country are selling it out from under us tomorrow. There ain't no battle over fucking NAFTA. That's a fucking charade. Like our elections are a fucking charade. And tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen, they're selling your fucking life out from under you. Don't you ever fucking forget it either. There's dick jokes coming up. Please relax.
Conspiracy, maybe. Screwed, definitely. Hey, you're listening to The Front Row at The Freak Show on blogtalkradio.com. For all things Freak Show, please visit us at frontrowatthefreakshow.com. Find us on Twitter, @Adamizer1 and @TheFreakShow. And, of course, Front Row at The Freak Show on YouTube and Facebook. All right, you freaks be good now, you hear?
At the foothills of forever I trip, fall into frustration again.
All right, and we are back. And it looks like the time on the wall says it's time for the Front Row Scuttlebutt. Adamizer?
Yes, sir.
Would you like to kick us off, or?
Oh, yes, I think I will. Thank you for the opportunity.
I knew you were all jammed up, so I didn't want to hold back.
Oh yeah, no, it's a very interesting week in the news, and top of that list, and you can find this virtually anywhere. I got the story pulled up from Indy Star right now, but what the fuck is happening in Indiana right now? You know, if you've been living under a rock, hell, I almost live under a rock, and even I know what's going on in Indiana. So they've signed into law a bill that is going to allow businesses to discriminate on the grounds of religious. They call it the Religious Freedom Act. It's the Religious Freedom Restoration Act, actually. And basically, despite what Governor Pence has been trying to put out there, it's very clear and it's unmistakable what has happened. They have made it legal for businesses to discriminate primarily against gays and not serve gay people just because they're gay and the business owner happens to be Christian. This is seriously fucked up, and it's causing all kinds of controversy all across the nation. Now, just to throw it out there, some folks have tried to point to the fact that other states have similar laws. The fact is, in virtually all of those states, gays are also a protected class. This is not true in Indiana. Okay, this is why it focuses on gays rather than, you still wouldn't be able to deny somebody who walked in who looked like a Muslim. All right, because Muslims are a protected class. Religious people are protected under their religious class. So really, it's a focus on gays. It's the latest gay bashing politics, and it's caused quite an uproar. I've read that you have the NCAA has raised concerns. They're having, of course, the basketball tournament there, the big final tournament there, and they're saying that they may reconsider locations in the future. It's a little too late to change venues now, but they may reconsider locations in the future if this law is not repealed. You have San Francisco boycotting Indiana products. You have Seattle, the mayor is saying that he's not letting public employees go on business trips to Indiana. You have, coming out of Silicon Valley, the CEO of Apple, as well as other top tech companies that are straight up boycotting Indiana. Though the most interesting I've seen is that the mayor of Indianapolis has basically said, fuck you, and he is banning anybody from discriminating against people on religious grounds within the city limits. So at least there is some sense of right and wrong going on somewhere in Indiana. But everybody's up in arms. George Takei is out there, big champion in this fight. And again, you can pick up this story anywhere. But if you haven't heard it yet, if you're living under a rock out there and you're just hearing it from me, holy shit. Go take a look at what's going on in Indiana. I mean, I actually have my brother-in-law out there right now, and it's, I told him before he went, I said, make sure to act straight because you don't want to be refused at fucking, some restaurant or whatever else. Don't, he's got a little bit of a speech impediment that could be mistaken for a lisp. I hope he does all right out there. I'm pulling for him.
As I was going through stuff on that, I thought it was pretty funny. I guess Hillary tweeted, after this went down, and she was like, "Oh, this is so sad." Right? I forget exactly. She was like, "Oh, what a sad law," or whatever. Right? And then, people were right up in her face. And it was like, it was your husband who did, the same thing on the federal level 20 years ago. He got the ball started with I forget what's the religious, whatever they call it's pretty much the same bill on the federal level, and it was all started by Bill.
Oh yeah, absolutely. No, it's she's grandstanding as she always does. I mean, what do you want? Yeah, she's a politician.
Of course.
But anyway, what do you got for us?
All right, so let's see. Where do we want to go first with this? Hard one there to follow up. Let's see. We'll go here. I've really been noticing a trend that a lot of my news comes from outside of America on the things that are happening in America, and I think that's just as telling as anything. But This one is from the independent .co.uk news, and the Monsanto chief admits that hubris is to blame for public fears over GMOs. And basically, one of the high ups at Monsanto, this Hugh Grant, he claimed that unless public attitudes towards biotechnology changed, it would be impossible to feed the world's growing population. And, of course, that's a flat-out, bald-face fucking lie, right? There are plenty of other ways to feed the world's growing population. And, we discussed it as we were talking about the economy. Just look no further. I know I've been bringing them up a lot, but certainly the Zeitgeist movement has pretty much in place things like vertical tower farms that, basically the size of one high-rise that's in Los Angeles right now, if it was converted to a vertical tower farm, could feed the entire population of Los Angeles. And that could be done naturally with no GMOs or anything of the sort. So, he went on to say he was kind of admitting companies like Monsanto's fault for us having the fear, because he said that they were so far removed from the supermarket shelf that it was never something that they gave a lot of thought to. They never thought about their place in the food chain. And that's a direct quote. Just didn't see where you fit into it all, huh?
Well, now let me ask you a question, if I may. First let me ask you, did you see there's a picture going around from a study that was done recently that shows the differences in, I think it was the pig's liver or stomach, something, pig organs, for the differences between pigs who were fed GMO crops versus those that were fed organic crops. Pretty stark and scary-looking picture if you get the chance to see that. But the question I have is this.
I have not.
So you say that, and I've heard this, they use the justification, how else are we going to feed the whole world? What the fuck does that have to do with what 90-some-odd% of the GMO stuff is simply making the plants able to handle Roundup better, okay? Able to handle the same weed killer that Monsanto happens to sell better. And I say handle it better because I'm choosing my words very carefully. It does not make them resist it. It does not make them, somehow, it's not like it's some kind of armor that keeps them from absorbing this weed poison. It actually allows them to absorb more of it without dying. And in fact, there was an interview with somebody defending Monsanto the other day who was trying to say that, it's fine because, you could drink Roundup. It's not even that big a deal. And the host went to hand him a glass. Did you see that one? Did you see that, Crafty?
I have it queued up and ready to play right now. So,
I'm sorry, man. I didn't mean to steal your thunder. Go ahead.
Let me play the clip.
Nice.
And, again, I just think it's funny that they're saying that our opinions on GMOs are their fault because they just didn't educate us enough early on in the process, and that they didn't know that, they didn't make the connection between what they were doing and what was in the supermarket.
Oh, yeah, you got to love the spin.
So, anyway, here is a Monsanto lobbyist. And he was on a French television station, and this guy's name is Dr. Patrick Moore, and he was a part of an upcoming documentary. And Dr. Moore claims to be an ecological expert and is currently the front man for EcoSense Environmental. And he stated to the interview that Monsanto's weed killer Roundup was not responsible for skyrocketing cancer rates in Argentina. And here's the rest of the clip. Come on. Come on, baby. There we go.
You can drink a whole quart of it and it won't hurt you.
You want to drink some? We have some here.
I'd be happy to, actually, but not really. But
not really.
I know it wouldn't hurt me.
If you say so, I have some glyphosate.
No, I'm not stupid.
Okay. So you.
No, but I know
it's dangerous,
I know people try to commit suicide with it and fail fairly regularly.
Tell the truth.
It's not dangerous to humans. No, it's not.
So you ready to drink one glass of glyphosate?
No, I'm not an idiot. Interview me about golden rice. That's what I'm talking about. Okay, then it's finished. Then the interview is finished.
That's a good way to solve things.
Yeah. You're a complete jerk.
Fantastic. Yeah, that's been making the rounds, and yeah, I'm not stupid.
Oh man, it's like you could see the sand going up into his vagina, couldn't you?
Oh, absolutely. I know. It's fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. So, all right. As I put out earlier in the show, and I'm just going to be taking a guess because it's from the 978 that my friend Mr. Hooper has taken me up on my challenge, and I did say, Adamizer, that I am going to, accept his call whenever it comes in.
Yep, fair enough.
We're going to have to interrupt. We're going to have to interrupt the scuttlebutt here a little bit, and let's just start. I guess again, I'm assuming this is Mr. Hooper. Let's go to the 978, and we'll find out if that is in fact him. 978, you're on the front row. Is this you, Mr. Hooper?
It is indeed, Steve. How you doing?
How are you, sir?
Very good, very good. What happened to that last call?
What's that?
I just heard the end of that last call. So, interview.
The last call?
Oh no, that was the clip we were playing from the Monsanto executive.
Okay, thanks.
Or lobbyist, Monsanto lobbyist. My bad.
Okay.
Yes. So, Mr. Can I get Dave?
Yeah.
Dave, are you there?
Yeah, I got you.
Okay. All right. So, thank you for calling in, Dave. Obviously, you had to cut away from your Celtics time. Obviously.
Yeah, I got a taping. No worries.
Oh, you got a taping. Okay.
Yeah.
So, did you listen to the beginning of the show?
I did not. I was doing homework, the bed thing. Did not get the beginning of it.
Gotcha. Well, I didn't get to. I did say that, because generally we're taking calls in the second hour of the show, but I did, I did say, I said, unless Mr. Hooper calls in, I said, well, we're going to cut to him because I don't want to give him any excuses, for not being able to get in at the right time. Okay, so, but I didn't really get into. I just kind of stated that we had a little online battle in the comments section of the front row at thefreakshow.com, and I kind of left it at that.
Okay.
So, but I do appreciate you calling in. So I think it would only be fair to kind of, give a little backdrop here to what we were discussing.
Yep.
And, essentially, and just correct me if I'm wrong, I'll give the kind of summary, I guess, if you will. You initiated the comment section by saying that, politics were corrupt, nothing we can do about it, been going on forever. And so to which I replied, I thought that was a pretty piss-poor attitude. Give a lying, then we really don't much left. And then you, I don't know if that was in your first comment, and we were both also talking about how you said that there are 5 help wanted signs on your way to work, and that this was somehow representative of there being plenty of jobs in the economy, to which I debated as far as what the real unemployment number is, how many people are out of the workforce, and you seem to feel you kept going back to those jobs, never answering my questions about, how good at jobs they are, what they offer, how many applicants there were for each, all those sort of things. But again, in a nutshell, I would say, there's, job postings and this and that everywhere, but the fact still is the fact that if you took the way we calculated unemployment just 20 years ago and did it the same way today, we'd be at about 16 or 18%. And then if you threw in underemployed, we'd probably be in the 30%. And then, of course, I threw out the number about the 92 million that are out of the workforce right now. And you didn't really address any of those. And what you did then was, and I do have it in front of me, and I'm sorry, I'm kind of like trying to go back over them while I'm talking here, but you curiously signed your next comment as, if I can get the direct quote, I'm not going to give your last name here, Dave, but you said, Dave, proud member of the military-industrial complex that keeps USA safe.
Yes.
And that, obviously, our conversation went on an entirely different turn.
Mm-hmm.
Where you were saying that, where I said I was trying to differentiate between the troops in the military-industrial complex. You said that there basically is no distinction between those two. You're a fan of one, you support the other, and that I was a coward for...
I did not use that word, but continue.
You did not. You said...
Don't put words in my mouth, please.
You said it's easy to talk tough in an online forum.
Right. I'm just saying don't put words in my mouth. I did not use the word coward.
I said you essentially called me a coward.
Right.
And that's what you did. Right?
Yeah, I didn't call you a coward, but I do say it's easy to say things
up here.
It's easy to say things online.
Right. To which I replied, I have a podcast, I talk about this stuff on air, and I will say the same thing that I'm saying in this online forum, on air, and to any military personnel that chooses to engage in conversation with me. And not only that, that actually I, probably more than you, give a shit about troops, is for them to all come home. And I want us to get the hell out of areas where we're simply sending young boys over to die for mere corporate interests. And threw out stats like 22 soldiers a day killing themselves, those sort of things, and all things that you refused to actually comment on. And all you did.
That's why I'm calling, Steve.
Saying,
I work long hours.
Right.
I can't write diatribes on the web like you can. I don't have time to do that. But back to the military, how much do you donate to Wounded Warriors?
You did.
Yeah, they were a lot shorter than yours. But as far as supporting the troops, how much do you donate to Wounded Warriors or any other charitable cause?
I don't donate anything.
There you go. I put my money where my mouth is. My company matches my donation.
What does that mean, though, Dave?
It means
what does that mean?
It means I am supporting Wounded Warriors, an organization that transitions soldiers back to civilian life.
Well, now I don't want to jump in the middle here, but I just want to say I don't think that how much somebody donates is a real measure of how much somebody cares. I think that we do what we can
These
to
people
support
need prosthetic legs.
groups. I don't think that you can judge somebody based on them not donating to this group or not donating to that group. We all do what we can, and we're all struggling out here.
I would say actions speak louder than words. These soldiers need wheelchairs and prosthetic legs and workplace support. That's not free.
Right. You're absolutely right, Dave. You're absolutely right. But why do they need prosthetic legs? And why do they need new arms? And why do they need their faces rebuilt? Isn't that the bigger question we should be asking? As opposed to just throwing money at new legs and new arms, why don't we put our brains on not needing them in the first place?
Yeah. What's your great solution?
Well, now, let me jump in again here and just say I don't think that, again, money is not the solution here. I don't think that simply throwing money...
Well, you tell that to the guy that needs a wheelchair.
That's all well and good. I mean, I'll help build the wheelchair. That's all well and good. But you say that
built a wheelchair?
You say that actions speak louder than words. Giving money is not an action. It's just, it's
really
actions would be going and helping these people directly. And I think the words do speak something when we're saying them publicly, trying to promote awareness. You really don't think that has any value?
Limited, I would say. Again, have you built the wheelchair? Have you donated? Have you volunteered?
I'd spend most of my time volunteering and donating to all sorts of causes. I mean, there's only so much to go around. I haven't donated to the cause that you're saying because nobody is doing enough to popularize that cause I'm sure that if I went out and looked for causes for disabled veterans that I would find that, but nobody has put that in front of my face because nobody's doing what we're trying to do out here right now. Okay, nobody. I don't think they have enough people with words to try to get those causes out there. Maybe your money should be, at least in part, trying to help that, or maybe volunteers should be trying to get words out there to get folks to help, whether it's with money or whether it's with labor or whatever they can help with.
Yeah.
Or how about this? How about I donate every time I pay taxes?
Yeah, you and me both.
How about I donate every single time we're spending $700 billion a year feeding that military-industrial complex that you are such a fan of?
Yeah.
Okay. And why is it, Dave, that you have to personally donate? Right. This country is more than willing to suit them up, put them in camos, give them a gun, and tell them to jump over the hill. But the second they step back into America, nothing. Absolutely nothing.
How can you have you ever been to Walter Reed?
Absolutely
outrageous. How can you say that's nothing?
What
about there's an entire agency devoted to veterans care? How can you say
and how well is that going? And how well that's going?
Well, you changed your tune pretty quick. Steve, you changed your tune pretty quick from nothing to the amazing. I'm just saying, you went from nothing to... Go ahead.
How many veterans does it take to come out and say that they've been on waiting lists for 2 years trying to get the attention, either medical or psychological, that they need?
Right,
how many?
Which is why Wounded Warriors comes in.
Not thousands.
Right. Well, what's your point? I mean, it's an agency that's not run well. What's your point?
The point is fix it. The point is...
That is my point, Dave.
I agree. If we're arguing about fixing the Veterans Administration...
Corruption just happens, right? Let's go back to your original point. Corruption is just what it is. It's always been going on. So who cares if it's going on at the VA? Who cares if the VA is ripping off millions of dollars a year, right? It's only the warriors that are going out to fight for us and protect us. Who cares It's just
Steve,
corruption.
I know you have the bully
just
pulpit,
like
but let me get a word in edgewise. You
be my guest.
2 minutes. You 2 minutes ago said America was doing nothing. It took me to remind you of the Veterans Administration, and now you're coming down on that. I mean,
well, hey,
2 minutes
Dave,
ago.
You're focusing on little words. I mean, they're doing nothing. Yeah, yes, there's VA hospitals, Dave. Yes, okay. I mean, but see, that's what you do. You focus on these little words. And
words
and
are powerful, Steve.
Do you think that they're doing even close to enough for these veterans?
No, which is why I donate to Wounded Warriors.
They're doing virtually nothing, Dave. Yes, we have VA hospitals in place. But they're being ripped off, they're being mismanaged, but it's just corruption. Getting back to your point. Who cares?
If you say that raising awareness is only helping on a limited basis, how can you not see the same with the Veterans Administration?
I'm missing that one, but the administrator of the Veterans Administration was replaced. It's a large organization. They get government funds. I mean, have you been to a Veterans Administration hospital? I have. Have you?
I think this is a little bit. I mean, I think we're getting.
I just don't think you guys know what you're talking about.
Isn't the point here not putting them in a position where they're going to need the Veterans Administration and need to depend on this? Isn't that a better solution?
That's the larger point.
This before it starts.
So, you would just let dictators run wild and just not. Well, really, Steve, I thought we.
Well, I mean, I think that's a little bit ridiculous. Is that why you think we went to Afghanistan and Iraq, was to stop dictators from running wild, or do you think that this might have been about resources and getting things like cheap oil?
Absolutely, it's about cheap oil. Did you put gas in your car this week?
No, my car runs on waste vegetable oil, actually.
Steve?
Yes, I did.
There you go. It's a resource.
What do you mean there I go? Because I use oil, that means I support that we went to war?
No, you can't be naive. Steve, don't be naive.
I can't be naive, Dave. Dave, there have been alternative. There was an invention for the electric car 100 years ago, Dave. 100 years ago. But it was suppressed. Why? Big oil. And we're still fighting that fight, and our boys are still going over and fighting that fight today. And that's what, again, the larger points in the blogs where I'm telling you, look, this guy, General Smedley Butler, have you ever heard of him?
Have not.
The most decorated soldier of all time, 2 Congressional Medals of Honor, wrote a book in the 30s called War is a Racket. In the 30s, Dave.
Yeah.
And he explained the whole, because he had been in the administrative side, the fighting side, he had seen everything. And he was actually approached by big companies to go and assassinate Roosevelt and take over. And point being is that they're still fighting the same fight. And then if you listened to our podcast, the one that you commented on, actually it might have been the one before, so I won't hold you to it, but I said simply that at some point, Dave, we got to draw the line. Okay? I will give and always have the veterans of World War II, Vietnam. You know, I said I'll give it up to them last week. But eventually, there comes a point in time where enough information is available to everybody where it's pretty clear that we are not fighting for democracy. We're not fighting because of a big bad dictator. We are fighting for corporate interests. And I pointed you to that book and another book called Confessions of an Economic Hitman by John Perkins, whistleblower from the CIA who was a part of the whole Saddam Hussein regime and trying to get him out of there, well, trying to keep him in there, first of all. And the only reason that he became a bad guy that was a threat to us was because he didn't want to sell his oil in U.S. dollars. or the petrodollar.
So let me ask you guys a question. Are you comfortable with ISIL beheading 23 Christians? Is that okay with you guys?
Well, I'm not okay with anybody beheading anybody, but do I think that it's our responsibility to stop them? No, I don't.
Really?
I think that until we can clean up all of the issues that we have at home, we need to stop playing world police and sending young men and women to die for folks that now, and that's not me being in-group, out-group. I have every bit of sympathy for everybody in every country out there, just as much as I do anybody else. But we have shit to fix here first before we start playing world police, in my personal opinion. And honestly, you're not going to get a lot of sympathy out of me when it comes to religious wars. I mean, that's one religious person beheading another religious person. Christians did it to the Muslims for thousands of years, or not thousands of years, but actually it was well over 8,000 years. I mean, this is nothing new, and it doesn't suddenly become our responsibility just because we spend more money on defense than anybody else to go over and stop them. I think that's internal problems that they need to deal with. We need to deal with ours, and then we can look at the world.
So in World War II, when America liberated...
Can I ask you a question on that?
Yeah.
Can I ask you a follow-up question on that, Dave?
Sure.
How was ISIL created? How did they get their start?
I assume a fringe splinter group. I don't know that much about them, to be honest.
Oh. So might that help?
Enlighten me, Steve.
Well, essentially, we invaded Iraq, correct?
Yeah.
We took out Saddam Hussein and left it an absolute chaotic mess with all of our weapons and billions of loose dollars lying around. And this is all documented testimony that you can look up. Guys like L. Paul Bremer, who were in charge over there, billions of dollars going missing, billions of dollars in ammo and guns and machines and all that. We leave the chaotic country, and guess who gets a foothold there? This small little group of, Muslim extremists that are able to grow because of all of our money and guns and ammo in the first place. And not to mention, they were also connected to the freedom fighters that were trying to topple Assad in Syria, so we were directly giving them money, guns, and ammo. So you had that group there, you had that group in Iraq, they connected up, and all of a sudden are this unstoppable group that are beheading 27 Christians. So do you think if we backed it up and actually listened to Dick Cheney in 1994, and you can go look this up on YouTube and you can get the words right out of his mouth. Should we take out Saddam? No, I don't think so. Why is that? Well, because it's a volatile region and a lot of extremists, and if we take out him, the problem is we either have to stay there forever, or what's going to eventually happen is another group is going to emerge that could be even worse than Saddam. And he said that in 1994.
Yeah.
So what do you think? That maybe our strategy and our game plan just to be over in this country and destabilize it, just so a few companies like BP Oil and Exxon can get richer and make obscene profits? So
I just want to jump in and say I'm all for.
I mean, again, it's starting to rethink the system, Dave, and that's what I was trying to get at in our online forum and trying to keep challenging you on. But you would just get caught up in a little phrase or something like that. And it's
I guess the overarching point is you guys think the system is broken. Is that correct?
I don't think that's a question of and I think that's an oversimplification. I think the system is doing exactly what the system is supposed to be doing. I don't think it's broken in that sense. I think the system is not working for the vast majority of Americans. I think that's the problem.
Okay. All right. Let me say. So you guys obviously familiar with the Constitution?
Yes.
Yes. Were you ever denied the pursuit of happiness?
Absolutely.
Is that right? In
Absolutely.
What way?
Absolutely. I think we're denied the pursuit of happiness all the time because happiness only comes, if you want to talk about happiness, you got to measure it on a scale, all right? You got to talk about the happiness of the Bushes and the Kochs and the other super rich versus the people who actually work for a living. And I think when you have to spend your entire life slaving away at this job or that job or whatever else just because you weren't born with money and you weren't born with the type of mind that it takes, type of psychopathic mind that it takes to exploit everybody that you can possibly exploit, that you absolutely are being denied the pursuit of happiness. My opinion.
So what about the American dream? Working hard, getting a good job, and getting ahead. This sounds like class warfare. I mean, do you not believe in the American dream?
Absolutely not. I mean, you're talking to the Adamizer now. I mean, I went
on
a whole rant in the last 2 or 3 podcasts about how I absolutely do not believe in the American dream. I do not believe that we should be living on an economic system of a couple of winners and a whole bunch of losers. I think that the reality is, and I said to Stephen just the last podcast when he was talking about his father having, made it, having worked, saved up, bought a business, got to be relatively comfortable. The opportunities for that have dwindled to the point where it's just getting ridiculous out there, and you're lucky if you can get a minimum wage job these days. And if that minimum wage, and the minimum wage being as far below the poverty level as it is, I mean, the public school systems being jacked up so that we're not teaching people any real ways to get ahead. I think that everything is working right now to keep the people who have made it in the power seats and in the money, and keep the rest of us from ever getting a chance at it.
I'll tell you this. My wife was yelled at by her boss today for not hiring enough people. Can't give the jobs away. Engineering jobs with full benefits, professional pay, can't possibly fill them.
Why can't they fill them?
Unskilled workers. I'm telling you, these are
okay, so
people
what
can start
you're saying
tomorrow.
is, well, people can't afford to go to college to get the skills that they need to get engineering jobs. That's what it sounds like to me.
Yeah,
especially when you've got them out there right now. You've got people out there right now trying to deal with student debt issues, and everybody's trying to fight that. I mean, this is, you seem to be making my point for me.
But there's in-state tuition at UMass, which has a very good engineering program, is pretty darn reasonable. I don't know. I'm just saying my company turned back. My company turned back 2 jobs today in Washington D.C. unfillable. Could not find a single person to pay $140,000 to.
Because you can't find the people that could afford the schooling that's required to get a $140,000 job.
Well, aren't people supposed to be self-sufficient? I mean, are you?
Not when with nothing. Not when you're born into a family that can barely get by, and you're expecting them to pay for college. I mean, most families can't do that anymore. This is the road that we've gone down. I mean, I think you're making the point here that people, you're not able to fill these $140,000 positions because and people can't get these $140,000 positions because they don't have the skills, because they don't have any options, any leg up whatsoever to possibly have that option to them. They're I had to work all through even late grade school into high school just to help keep my family afloat. This is what we're living in nowadays.
Sounds a little bit like class warfare to me.
Yeah, I think it's.
Hey, I'm all. You're talking to the wrong guy if you want to act like class warfare is a bad term. I'm absolutely.
Well, so are you promoting socialism? I mean, 50% of people don't pay taxes.
I am an outspoken communist that you're speaking to. So I'm all for it. I'm all for it. I think that we shouldn't have classes. I don't think that we should have an owner class that has no requirement to actually contribute any labor to society whatsoever and lives off of the labor and the products of labor that they can extract from an entire majority of people, from the vast majority of people. I'm not for that. Are you?
Yeah. Wait, let me clarify. Are you saying rich people don't work hard?
I'm saying
is that
rich
what you're
people
saying?
don't have to work, period.
How is that possible? I mean, I don't understand. So the person who gets a $140,000 a year job isn't going to work for it.
That's not a rich person. That's a person who's well off. We're talking about rich people. We're talking about Kochs. We're talking about Bushes. We're talking about Bill Gates. Okay?
Yeah.
Bill Gates didn't invent Microsoft. All right?
Are you saying he didn't work hard?
Oh, he worked very hard at exploiting people who invented things that he knew he could sell for a lot more than what they were willing to take for it.
So you don't believe in capitalism?
Absolutely not.
So you're comfortable with 50% of people not paying taxes?
We've been talking. But Dave, hold on.
Steve, I don't want to take up your whole show.
We've been talking the last couple of weeks. No, that's fine. That's fine. It's great. It's a great conversation.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it.
We've been talking the last couple of weeks, okay, about how this system of capitalism is kind of in its death spiral. We are now seeing the results, okay, of this system after X amount of years, combined with fiat money, fractional reserve banking, okay, and when you really look at the seminal points about 30, 40 years ago, Adamizer is a big fan of this guy, Dr. Richard Wolff, and he's raised some fantastic points about, when you hit about the 70s, how we went from a true labor shortage, and that's why, there was that American dream was prosperous, because there was this overall labor shortage. But with the combination of technology, women hitting the workforce, and immigration, with those three things, and plus then you add on like trade agreements that send companies overseas, okay, we are now in this constant labor deficit, okay, and it's only going to keep getting worse and worse and worse. And the things that we've had to do to make up for it are things like we are now working, we as Americans, this is America, we work more than any other country out there, Dave.
Yeah.
Right? When you talk about the times in the 20s and 50s, they were talking about things like the 10-hour work week or the 20-hour work week. Well, that hasn't happened. What is it now? It's both people having to work, and both people having to work 40, 50, 60 hours a week. I mean, you talk about that 140,000 job that's available.
Yeah.
And I'll say, yeah, that's a nice job, but you know what? If you live in Massachusetts and you live where I know you live, you need another income.
Yeah.
You can't just
I don't
live
know.
on. Not if you want to have kids.
I don't know about that, Steve. I do know what.
Just
for a reality check, I know what my neighbors make. They live right next door.
You
don't
are
make
just
that.
sliding, but that's about the line, though. That's about the line. Okay, that is about you. That's about the minimum that you need to bring in, pretty much anywhere inside the 95 belt of Massachusetts. Okay, I mean it's true. Maybe give or take, maybe 120, but I mean, so we're talking that's about the minimum if you want to have kids, right, and a decent place to live. That's about the minimum. So that automatically says, all right, if we want to save and we want to do things, well, the other person's going to have to work. So anyway, I just find it interesting, like where you go back and forth, like you bring up the Constitution, right? And it's like this pursuit of happiness. Okay, well, what about the Constitution when it says no foreign entanglements?
Yeah. Again, the part I was...
I support the troops going over there and fighting a war for oil. I mean, so the Constitution is pick and choose, cherry pick?
No, I referenced one part. That I don't think anyone has been denied the pursuit of happiness. I mean, it's capitalism.
I think that when the pursuit of happiness is, so much so ridiculously difficult for those who are born into some circumstances, and so easy. And I mean, I wish I could find a stronger word than easy for those born into other circumstances. There's a real problem there. Even if there is still the outside chance of a pursuit of happiness for the kid growing up in the ghetto, it's still a problem. I think we need to address that problem. I think we need to face that problem.
Yeah. So back to the capitalism. As I pointed out to Steve, the top 1% of earners pay 35% of tax in this country, and they're demonized for not working hard and being having family money. Where do people think the money for social programs comes from?
Where does this 35% number come from? Because that I seem to recall Warren Buffett saying after he got his accountants involved, he was paying less of a percentage than his maid. And I think that there's a lot of that going on. The tax codes have been written to make sure they never pay 35%. That's simply the pre-accountant rate, the pre-loophole rate.
Pre-loophole. No, it was in the Wall Street Journal. I get a subscription at work, so you can take that or leave it. But
I mean, most of them are making their money through these corporations that aren't paying anything.
Right, and you know what else Berkshire Hathaway provides?
What?
Jobs and benefits. I don't think Warren Buffett should pay tax. Do you know how many jobs and benefits he provides? And on top
he doesn't provide jobs. I'm sorry, but the owners of businesses do not provide jobs. It's the customers that provide the jobs.
All right, I'm going to come close to hanging up on that comment, but I will.
Go right ahead. Ask anybody, any economics expert who creates the jobs, whether it's the business owners or the consumers. Ask any of them.
So a small business that I work for. See, the guy founded it in 1978 to provide information technology services. He gave me a job. He didn't create that job. Obviously, demand comes into play, but you're really losing me on that one.
No, again, it's the customers. Yes, there is a guy who went out and realized, hey, I've got something that can bring these customers in, okay?
Right.
But it's customers. It's the customer's money that's paying your salary, okay?
Yeah. I guess we're splitting hairs here, but shouldn't the tip of the hat be for the entrepreneur who goes out? This guy had a company that failed, and he started another company.
Yeah, and again, that's all well and good, but all he's doing when he's starting this company, okay, and he's paying you however much he's paying you per hour, because your labor is worth more to him than that. All right? He's giving you, let's say, $30 an hour, okay, because he's able to get $50 worth of something per hour out of you. But he's not doing that labor. You're doing the labor. You're making that $50, and he's only paying you $30. What is it that he's contributing?
Entrepreneurship. He took a risk. I wasn't willing to take it. He had a company that failed.
You're not taking a risk by going to work there, and you said one of his businesses folded. You're not taking a risk?
Well, I've been working there for 16 years, so it seems somewhat stable.
And there's, for every story that you're saying, there's slews of them that exact same, like the company that failed, right?
Right.
How many employees did he leave dangling in the wind? And how many then had to go on unemployment, couldn't find another job, exhausted the system, everything else. So, again, Dave, I tend to go to the larger picture, and it's what I tried to do in the forum and all that stuff. If you just step back and look at the numbers, my friend, when you talk about real unemployment at 18%, 1 million homeless children in this country, 50 million people on food stamps. When you just start stepping back.
So you're almost promoting social. Shouldn't people be self-sufficient? Can't you feed your children? I don't know.
Not on a public education
that everyone has their hand out. Give me food stamps. Give me Section 8 housing. I don't understand.
You've got this backwards, all right? We're talking about the idea that everybody should work, okay? We're talking about the idea that, hey, I got to go to work, all right? I got to make money so that I can feed my kids and everything else, all right? Now, here's this other guy, all right? He was born rich. Or better yet, he was born with a knack for, again, Bill Gates being a great example, for buying low and selling high. right? That's what he can do, okay? And he doesn't really have to work. Buying low and selling high isn't working, all right?
Yeah, I
Being
disagree.
born rich isn't working. What we're talking about is everybody works and everybody contributes. And if somebody gets down, if somebody is going through a bumpy patch, you help them out. I mean, you can call that socialism and try to demonize it, but that's all we're talking about. We all go through rough patches. I wish I had the stats in front of me, but I'm telling you, the amount of people who have hit a rough patch in their lives and have needed your dreaded handouts, okay, is a staggering amount of people. A staggering amount of people.
So, do you guys ever go to BureauLaborStatistics.gov?
Sure. I do on occasion. I go to I pull up government statistics on occasion to compare them to many of the other statistics that are out there. I'm not big in trusting the statistics that I've seen from government. But
no, I just want to say underemployed. What is your definition of underemployed? I guess it's not an officially recognized government statistic, and I use BLS.gov all the time.
I'm the definition of underemployed. I'm somebody. Well, no, actually, I'm sorry. I'm not a very good definition because. Well, no, you know what? I think I can because I have a career. I had a career. Okay, with regards to I was also in the IT business for a dozen years, and at this point. Partially, I would admit, in my case, partly by choice, though in most cases it's not by choice. Most people's companies are being shipped offshore or whatever else. So again, maybe I'm the bad example. But I'm working odd jobs, okay? Yeah. No, I know plenty of people who were working in IT through no choice of their own, through no fault of their own, but simply because the people who own the companies made decisions that put profits before people. They're now working at a hardware store, or they're now working, some other ridiculous job because that's all that's out there. Are these, you talked about the help wanted signs that you see on the way to work. How many of those are minimum wage jobs or barely above it at large corporations with zero benefits?
Well, I told 40% of them were 2 out of 5 were legitimate professional careers. Is there anything wrong with working in the trades? I mean, is everybody entitled to an office job with benefits and free coffee? I mean, that's
no, but everybody's entitled to a job that will actually pay the rent, that will actually give them a chance to get ahead. Yes, absolutely, everybody's entitled to that job. And meanwhile, we got a minimum wage that's below the poverty level.
So if everyone's entitled to that job, who's going to work the other job? I mean, that's unreasonable. I mean. Everybody can't have an office job with benefits.
I didn't say office job. That wasn't something I was including. What I said was everybody has a right to a job that will allow them to get ahead. Okay? That could be digging ditches. That could be cleaning bathrooms. But they have a right to be paid something better than the poverty level. And they have a right to benefits. We fought for these things were fought for 100 years. Okay? And all we're doing now is stepping backwards, taking benefits away from workers, driving down the salaries through threats of taking the companies offshore, using that as a bartering tool with what few unions there are out there. 6.5% of people in the private sector currently represented by unions. Okay, we are torturing the American workers economically.
Yeah,
if I can just step in here for 1 second, and Dave, we'll probably have to wrap it up in a couple of minutes so we can
I don't want to
take a break and all that. But all I tried to do with the online forum and here tonight is, I think one, and I'll say problem that you have is isolating things and extrapolating them and applying them to the system or whatever at large. When all I'm trying to say is take a step back. Like you're sitting there arguing about, well, so this person, who's going to do these other jobs, and well, turn that question around, right? And look at the system from the other way. And again, you're talking about a country that is $18 trillion in debt, not counting unfunded liabilities, which brings it over to $100 trillion. You're talking about a country that spends $700 billion a year spending. Infrastructure, absolutely crumbling throughout this country. And when I talk about infrastructure, I'm not just talking roads and bridges. I'm talking about nuclear power plants. We're talking about education. Absolutely. I mean, you talk about unskilled laborers not being able to fill the jobs. Well, we've fallen from first in the world to like in the 20s as far as educational rank. You know, so step back and just and then ask yourself, which way is all of this trending? Right? All this stuff is trending the wrong way. And it's only going to keep compounding and getting worse. And I haven't even hit on inflation or anything like this. I mean, for the first time in 40 years, we are actually making real less dollars than the people in 1969. You know, so, yeah, you can talk about pulling yourself up by the bootstraps and all this, but the fact is those chances are becoming less. We're taking home less. The middle class is decaying. And all we're trying to do is wake people up to that fact and then say things like, well, maybe we shouldn't be spending hundreds of billions of dollars a year on planes that don't work and invading countries just to protect the oil fields and this, that, and the other thing. That's all, man. It's just like a different viewpoint. And then we can discuss, like I would recommend looking at the Zeitgeist movement. They come along with a resource-based economy that shows how everyone can work and much less and have all our needs filled and be, you know, there's the technology out there, but unfortunately what happens is it gets suppressed by these big TNCs, you know, the transnational corporations, what have you. So
I mean,
that's the only real point I'm coming from, man.
Yeah, I appreciate you're doing your thing, but in this craftopia, you know, it all sounds great, but don't we have to be practical and play the cards we're dealt?
What's impractical about it?
That, you know, that there is going to be this resource-based economy. That's not going to happen. What's that?
Why not?
Well,
why not?
Not with attitudes
for tens
like
of
that.
thousands of years, right where we're standing here in America. That's pretty much what was here before whites and Europeans showed up. That's pretty much what they had, was a primitive form of resource-based economy. Why do you think we can't do that when we add technology to it?
It's just unreasonable. You guys can't be so naive. I mean, you got to play the cards we're dealt. Do you think the economy and structure of the United States is going to change?
Absolutely.
I mean,
do you think people thought that the structure and economy of Rome was ever going to change? Of course. I mean, the fact is our economy is going to collapse on itself. We don't even have to do anything, given the rate that we're going.
Well, again, you know, you guys are doing your thing.
You can't see that. If you can't see that the combination of the fiat dollar, every single one in all of history has collapsed, and you can't see that debt is absolutely spiraling out of control, and if you can't see all these other warning signs that major economics professors talk talk I don't know, man. You know, I don't know what to
comparatively,
tell you.
I mean, comparatively, you know, I would say the United States is doing, compared to other countries, doing really well. I mean, my coworker, she had to leave India because her neighbor's arm got cut off with a machete. Is that going to happen here? You know, I doubt it.
We're getting close.
I mean, you know, I don't. I'm just saying.
You doubt it. 13 years ago, planes were slammed into buildings, and 3,000 people died.
Right, but
a couple years ago, a school was shot. I mean, these things happen. I mean, they're not happening here.
It was a religious war. She was in the wrong tribe or wrong religion.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm saying if I plopped you guys down in downtown Mogadishu, I bet you wouldn't be complaining about the United States too much.
No, but to say that's not going to happen.
I think in a lot of places, if you plopped us down in, you know, Baghdad or a lot of other places, we would have to complain about the United States, or we'd probably be killed.
Right. Well, I don't know. I got to wrap it up here, but you guys bring up some good points. Steve, you said the other week you wanted people to call who didn't agree with you, so I thought I would chime in.
Absolutely.
I just want to say I appreciate you calling. I really do. I think
good.
Conflict is always good. Debate is always good. It's the best way to get at the truth. I very much do appreciate you calling.
Yeah. I appreciate the discourse. It's good to talk with you guys.
You as
Always
well, sir.
stuff to think about. Thank you, Hooper, for your call.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Take care. And that
was fun and unexpected.
Yeah.
On my end, it was unexpected. I enjoyed that. I don't get to debate enough.
Yeah, no, it was great. It was great. And like I said, obviously Dave and I disagree on a lot of shit. But, he's good. He's a friend of mine, goes way back. And, hopefully that certainly, that's what it's supposed to be about, that we are able to disagree
exactly.
On a respectful level.
And I think the important thing, and that's right, the important thing is the respectful level, and the fact that, we're not resorting to ad hominems here. We're not trying to, shit on anybody else's perspective. We're just trying to open minds to a different perspective.
Right. And, I think both of us would, just say I think that, Dave, along with a lot of people in his position, are in for a rude awakening.
Absolutely.
And, that's, unfortunate. But, so, hey, we're well overdue for a break. And Adamizer, I got some bad news for you.
What?
I got some bad news for you, my friend.
You went with a different song, didn't you?
I'm going with a different song.
That's all right.
And I'm going to tell you why.
Right.
I'm going to tell you why. And it's actually an interesting little story. But number one of our usual callers, Jimmy from the 781, it's his birthday today.
Oh,
and,
okay.
So that was first and foremost, and I texted him today, and here's my phone. And so I texted him today, and I said, happy birthday and all that stuff, and I said, well, I'll play something for you on the show tonight, and I said, give me a good excuse to not play the Dropkick Murphys. And he replied, he goes, I hate the Dropkick Murphys. They all watched me almost die walking backward off a 30-story building and didn't say or do a thing to stop me. Fuck those guys. Talentless thugs, but I digress. So he's in the film business.
So
and he
it's personal, huh?
Yeah, he must have been filming them or something. He probably had the camera and was backing up on like a rooftop is all I can envision, right? So, and he was probably about to do a header off the top of the roof. So anyway, what I had to do was go with what I know is one of Jimmy J's personal longtime favorites. Certainly the artist is one of both of our favorites. He turned me on to this guy 30 years ago, and it's Waylon Jennings, Ain't Living Long Like This, and I kind of thought the title of the song at least was interesting because I don't think any of us are living long like this. So let's take a quick 4-minute break and let Waylon ride us out here. Happy birthday to Jimmy from the 781.
lawman's grave. I like to run, but I don't think I can. You make one move and you're a dead man, really living long like this. They live it all like this, can I, baby? Put the handcuffs on behind my back. Let me a reeling on a steel rail, ragged down them all in the jailhouse, baby. They live it long like this. They live it all like this, can I, baby? Roadhouse queen, the Texas Ruby look like Sandra Day. I like to love her, but I don't know how. She's on the bottom in the jailhouse, and ain't living long like this. Ain't living all like this, and baby. Know the story about the jailhouse run. Go on and do it, but just don't get caught. They got 'em all. They live it long like this. They live it all like this. Can I, baby?
What up, freaks? Hey, you're listening to Front Row at the Freak Show. Check us out at frontrowatthefreakshow.com, at Adamizer1, at The Freak Show, and, of course, Front Row at the Freak Show on YouTube and Facebook. Peace!
At the foothills of forever I trip, fall into frustration again.
So
all right, freaks,
you
we
bumped
are
the
back.
Dropkick Murphys for country.
You bet your ass, buddy.
I will say this. It certainly had a little bit of a tonk sound to it. It wasn't bad. I'm not complaining.
Hey, you know what? I think that's the second country tune that I've played, and that you've come back both times saying that's not bad.
There is good country.
So,
There's good things in every genre, and I certainly think you've found quite a few winners.
Oh, it's Adamizer. Let me tell you something. It's called outlaw country, right? My country is very narrowly defined, and it's pretty much late 60s to, you could say up until through the 90s, because obviously, like Johnny Cash found a rebirth and started putting out great albums, right, all through the early 2000s even. So, but again, today's country, your struggle for names here, your Toby Keith's. Your what's the chick's name who's really popular?
Shania Twain or the one you're talking the one that's always singing about her boyfriends, right?
Yeah.
Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift. Adolf Hitler.
Swift. Yes.
Yeah.
Awful. It's awful, right? No, I'm talking. Waylon, Johnny, Christopherson, Willie. And I could go give you a list of about 6 other guys, and they crush it. And to me, it's more rock and roll. So. Hey, we got about 9 minutes left here tonight. I see our old friend who has hopped on the line here. I believe that's Mr. Brian. So why don't we go to Brian and see what he's got to say tonight? What do you say about that, Adamizer?
Works for me.
All right. Brian, that you?
Yeah, what's up, guys?
Hey, how's it going?
Doing well, homework and kids. That's about it.
Brian, are you pulling yourself up from your bootstraps right now?
Yeah. I guess you could say that. No,
So what's on your mind tonight?
I was listening to your friend call in, and it was nice, to hear someone from a different point of view, and you guys would talk back and forth, and there wasn't any yelling, and I think that's important, regardless of your point of view, is the conversation. That's how we move forward. I don't know what it's like where he's at, and I think that's sad that there's jobs that they can't fill, and I guess it's odd to me because, there's towns like where I'm from, if you don't work in telemarketing or at one of the local hospitals or in fast food, there's relatively little for you to do. And I've spent much of my life, making the minimum wage as they slowly have raised it over the years. And I can't tell you how many times in my life I've been a flat tire away from the poorhouse. If one thing happened to my vehicle, or I don't know how I would have gotten to work and put food on the table for my kids. I mean, thank God my wife works too. I don't know what we would do on a single income, or if we didn't have some family members that were able to help us through some really hard times. I don't know how those people do it.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say
if I could. Yeah, just a quick comment, and I think you come from where is it again? Remind me, Ohio.
Yeah, I'm in southern Ohio. It's a tri-state: Kentucky, West Virginia, and Ohio. So it's Appalachia. It's pretty impoverished.
Yeah, they're for every success story. And I was saying this last week. The sad thing is there's a million stories of people who are on the edge, who are living, as you say, a flat tire away from not being able to feed their kids. And that's the problem is, as long as they keep standing up these stories of people like Bill Gates or whoever it may be, it's distorting the overall picture and cutting out the realities that people like yourself are experiencing.
Yeah, I have friends who and it's sad to say this, but they're ridiculous. They think that if they wait long enough, they're going to find this great job, this great paying job, because I think a lot of them, maybe they're not smart enough, or they really believe that, the world's full of all these opportunities and they just have to find it. They don't have to work for it. And then there's the other side of that where, I'm overqualified to work at Wendy's if I didn't have any other choice. They wouldn't hire me. I'm 33 years old and college educated. They don't want someone like that flipping burgers.
No, of course not, because if that random opportunity does come along, you're out the door, and that's not what they want. Exactly. They want people who have to work there.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And if I could jump in for a minute, I think this is an important point, and I don't want to speak of Dave, like now that he's not online or anything like that, but, I know, like, where he, even him aside, he's in Massachusetts, okay, and more specifically, like inside the 495, 95 belt, close to Boston, right? It's almost like a different world, you know. Real estate keeps on rising and rising and rising, and the job market is good, right? So I think he's taking his little slice of the world where he is and applying it to the rest of the country, and that's a bad mistake to make, in terms of, like, say, where you're calling from, or the South, or parts of the Midwest. We got to look at this country as a whole when we're assessing its health and whatnot. So
I agree, and I think
that's
right,
an important factor.
But I think our communities outweigh the ones he's talking about.
Absolutely.
And when you talk about that change happening, and the dollar collapsing, because despite what people may think, the paper money is a lie. It's all a lie. And if something were to happen, our communities outweigh their communities, and this is where the problems are going to happen, because we're the ones who are starving first. Right.
No, it's absolutely true. And again, it's the and even up here in New Hampshire, they've slashed our state budget so badly. Austerity is the only word that you can use. They're cutting half the funding to the Department of Transportation. They're cutting, I think it was Meals on Wheels or some similar program. All of these things because they refuse to tax their rich campaign donors. And, it's as those things happen, you're going to see that, it's just going to get worse and worse. It's going to be more communities like yours and less like what you find down outside of Boston. And even outside of Boston, there's a lot of slums. I worked down in Boston for many years, and there's plenty of places where if you're born into those places, born into those neighborhoods, whatever it may be, you've got a 1 in a million chance of ever doing anything besides slaving away 60 hours a week just to feed your family.
Right. Slums, cradle to the grave. The inner city is a world in and of itself, and it's right there in the same communities that he may be talking about. And let me say, I don't want to say anything about him. I don't know him, and I don't know, But I'm glad he called and talked about what he did. I think that it's great.
Yeah, I think it was a great jumping off point. Absolutely. And just to kind of
Dave, he's a good guy. He's got a kid. He's a family man, and I know that's really important to him and all that. So, I know at the core there's a really good guy. But again, I think sometimes, and this is all I tried to sum it up best, is taking that step back and looking at the big picture here, which is hard to do when, he admitted himself, he and his wife were working, got the kid, and we get so wrapped up in trying to make those ends meet and make all the payments. It's hard to take that step back and look at the system as a whole, right?
Absolutely. And let me just rattle this off real quick in our final seconds here, because I think George Carlin has the best response to what he was saying of anybody. And it's just very short here. He says, somebody just posted it as a coincidence. It's disgusting, man. Disgusting that people still make the argument that we can never cut the fence, but we can cut education. Who the fuck is going to invade the U.S.? Really? Use your fucking head. The only country that could invade America is America. We can afford to cut defense. We can't afford to cut education. We cut education in 50 years, we'll be so stacked with idiots with shitty jobs that we won't have enough money to pay for defense.
Absolutely. And, fellas, we are about 20 seconds out here. I'm going to roll a little outro music in the background as we round out. Brian, thank you as always for calling. We're going to be back next week. We didn't even really get to hit on any of the documentaries, but I'm sure we'll take care of that in Leftovers next week. But I am Crafty, he's Adamizer, and for now we are out.